Welcome to sleep with myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. The path to the mountain shrine had long been forgotten by the villagers below. Vines smothered the stone steps, moss blanketed the ancient lanterns, and the forest had quietly grown over what once had been a sacred trail. Only the faint outline of a weathered torii gate remained, its red paint chipped, its wood leaning, its crossbeam cracked but stubbornly standing. Aiko paused at the base of the steps, breath visible in the cold morning air. Though she had ventured into many forests before, this one felt different. The silence here was heavy, not the peaceful quiet of nature, but a hush that held its breath, as though waiting. The villagers spoke of this place only in whispers, of a shrine abandoned after the old kami fell silent, of offerings that went unanswered, of prayers that drifted into the night with no blessing in return. But Aiko had heard something else, a whisper, a soft, almost imperceptible voice the night before, calling from deep within her dreams. A voice that trembled with loneliness, echoing from a place beyond memory. She could not ignore it. With a steady breath, she stepped beneath the torii. Instantly the air changed, the wind stilled, the forest hushed. Even the distant river seemed to hold its voice. Aiko felt a pressure in her chest, not painful but insistent, like fingers gently pressing against her ribs. "You heard me." Aiko froze. The voice was faint, barely more than a vibration against her mind. Yet it was unmistakable. Someone or something was speaking. "Who's there?" she whispered. The silence returned. Aiko pressed forward, climbing the ancient steps. The deeper she went, the heavier the air became. Leaves rustled without wind. Shadows wavered though nothing moved. Even the sun seemed dimmer through the thick canopy. Halfway up the steps, she noticed the small wooden plaques, "Emma," scattered across the ground. Most were rotted, worn by years of rain and neglect. Yet the prayers written on them remained faintly visible. "Protect my child. Bless our harvest. Give us peace." Aiko lifted one gently. A cold pulse traveled up her arm. The kami had heard these prayers once, but something had severed the connection. Aiko placed the Emma back on the ground. When she reached the final step, she gashed softly. The shrine courtyard lay before her, swallowed by time. Toppled lanterns, cracked wood, an offering box split by roots. A shrine without a kami was like a body without breath. Aiko stepped forward. The moment her foot touched the courtyard stone, a chill swept through the shrine. Sharp, cold, heavy with sorrow. "You came." The whisper again, clearer this time. Aiko turned slowly toward a small auxiliary shrine. Inside, resting on faded silk, was a small wooden mask. Soft, round features, carved tears along the grain. I waited, a forgotten kami, weak, fading, alone. Aiko knelt. "Why did you call me?" "Because you listened." The tiny mask glowed faintly. "I need to remember who I was before the silence." Aiko touched the shrine gently. "Then I'll help you remember." and the forgotten kami stirred for the first time in centuries. For a long moment, Aiko simply knelt before the tiny shrine, watching the faint glow behind the wooden mask. The light pulsed softly, like a small, tired heartbeat. The air around her felt fragile, as though a single careless word might shatter it. "You said you need to remember," she whispered. "How can I help you do that?" The mask did not move, yet the silence shifted, no longer heavy, but listening. "Stay." The voice brushed against her thoughts, as light as dust on old wood. Aiko exhaled slowly. "I can do that." She sat back on her heels, folding her hands in her lap. The stone beneath her knees was cold, but the air around the small shrine grew warmer, as if grateful for her decision. "I don't know any rituals," she admitted softly. "No proper prayers. I'm not a priestess." The faint glow flickered. "You came," the kami whispered. "That is enough." Aiko smiled sadly. "Then I'll start with what I know." She closed her eyes. She remembered visiting the village shrine as a child, the way her grandmother had guided her hands as they clapped and bowed, how they had spoken to the unseen with simple, earnest words, how the air had always felt just a little brighter afterward. Aiko placed her hands together now, fingers pressing gently against each other. She bowed her head. "Honored one," she said quietly, "I don't know your name. I don't know your titles or your stories, but I know you are here. I know you were left behind, and I know you are lonely." The wind rustled through the broken eaves of the main hall. "But you were not always forgotten," Aiko continued. "Once they came here. Once they believed in you enough to carve a shrine and a mask, to climb this long path, to bring their worries and hopes to your door." Her voice softened into almost a lullaby. "So let me sit here with you, until the quiet becomes a little less empty." The glow behind the mask brightened. Aiko felt something stir, not in the air, but in the space just behind her heart. A tug, gentle and wordless, like a child reaching for her hand. "Would you?" She hesitated, unsure if she was asking too much. "Would you show me what it was like when you were not alone?" For a moment, nothing moved. Then, the light flared. The world lurched. The courtyard dissolved. When Aiko opened her eyes, she was still kneeling on the same stone. But the shrine around her was no longer broken. The lanterns were upright. Their paper shades glowed with warm, golden fire. Freshly swept stones shone beneath her knees. The main hall stood tall and straight, its roof unbowed, the wood polished and strong. The torii gate at the entrance burned bright red in the distance. Voices filled the air. Children laughed as they chased each other between the stone lanterns. Women in bright kimono carried trays of offerings, rice, sake, woven garlands of flowers and leaves. Men set up small stalls along the path, their laughter rising with the smoke of cooking food. The shrine was alive. The air hummed with gratitude, with hope, with the soft sincerity of 100 unspoken prayers. Aiko's breath caught. "Is this your memory?" she whispered. The answer came as a warm breeze against her cheek. "Yes." A young boy ran past her, nearly clipping her knee, but he didn't see her. None of them did. She was a ghost in someone else's yesterday. The boy carried a tiny bundle of flowers in both hands, clutching them as if they might fall apart if he loosened his grip even a little. He ran to the small auxiliary shrine, the same one Aiko knelt before, but here it was freshly painted, its silk cushion unfaded, its wooden frame uncracked. The mask inside looked the same. Soft, round features, carved tears. Only now, the tears seemed less like sorrow and more like overflowing feeling. The boy skidded to a stop, dropped to his knees, and placed the flowers inside the shrine with both hands. "Kami-sama," he murmured, bowing deeply. "Please, keep my little sister from getting sick this winter." Aiko felt the air shimmer.
Something reached out from within the small shrine, a presence, gentle and luminous, like the warmth of a hand pressed over a candle's flame. It brushed over the boy's back, resting there for just a heartbeat. "I hear you." The words were not spoken aloud, but Aiko felt them resonate through the space. The boy shivered and smiled, though he could not say why, then bowed again before running off. Aiko turned her head slowly. All around the courtyard, little moments like that unfolded. An old woman lighting incense with careful hands, her lips moving in a silent plea. A couple pressing their foreheads together after clapping, eyes closed, sharing a quiet prayer for a future they could not yet see. A farmer setting down a basket of rice with both hands, shoulders sagging with exhaustion and relief. Everywhere there was trust. Everywhere there was connection. Aiko felt something tighten in her throat. "You were loved," she whispered. "You were needed." The air brightened just a little too bright, and the scene flickered. The warm lantern light dimmed. Some of the stalls disappeared. The laughter faded. Aiko blinked. The courtyard had changed. The torii gate's red paint was duller. The roof of the main hall bore a faint, newly formed crack. The number of visitors had dwindled. Only a handful of people climbed the steps now. Aiko watched a middle-aged woman kneel before the main hall, clutching a cloth bundle tight to her chest. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking. "Please," the woman whispered. "Just this once. Just this one thing. Take my years instead. Take my voice. Take anything. Just, please don't take my child." Her words struck Aiko like stones in her chest. The silence that answered struck even harder. The air grew heavy. The little auxiliary shrine remained where it was, but fewer emma hung from its eaves. The mask inside glowed faintly, like a lantern burning low.
"I tried." The Kami's voice trembled through the memory. "I held her hand at the edge. I followed her through the fever. I called to the threads, but they did not listen to me." Aiko's eyes blurred. The woman stayed kneeling for a long time, her shoulders shaking with sobs that made no sound in this ghost of a moment. Finally, she rose on unsteady legs and descended the steps, leaving her plea behind like fallen leaves. The scene flickered again. Time jumped. The courtyard grew emptier. The offering box bore new cracks. Moss crept up the lanterns. The paint peeled further away from the torii gate. The air lost some of its brightness. Aiko swallowed. "Why did they stop coming?" she whispered, though she already knew. The Kami's answer was almost too soft to hear. "Because I could not save everyone." Aiko closed her eyes. In the next moment, she saw a string of winters, harder than they should have been. Crops failing, illness spreading, storms coming at the wrong time. Each year, fewer offerings, fewer prayers, more empty space. "They thought you abandoned them," Aiko murmured. "I never left. the kami said. Aiko opened her eyes to see a final memory. A lone priest, older now, sweeping the courtyard with slow, weary strokes. His robes were thin, worn at the edges. His hands trembled as he lit the lanterns, one by one, though no one came to see them. He stepped before the auxiliary shrine and knelt. For the first time, Aiko saw his eyes clearly. They were full of apology. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the little mask. "I stayed as long as I could. But if no one comes, if no one brings offerings, if no one remembers, I have nothing left to keep this place alive." He reached into his sleeve and set a single white flower inside the shrine. "For all the years you watched over us," he said. Then, with a slow, painful bow, he rose. He descended the steps. He did not return.
Aiko watched the seasons blur. Spring rain eroded the edges of the stone. Summer heat cracked the paint. Autumn leaves piled up and up and up, no longer swept away. Winter snow weighed down the roof, each year pushing it closer to collapse. The lanterns went dark. The offerings stopped. And through it all, in the tiny auxiliary shrine, the little mask sat in the darkness. Its glow fading, its voice growing so faint that even the wind could not hear it. "I called," the kami whispered, a fragile echo in the silence. "But no one heard me. I called until I forgot the sound of my own name." The last image dissolved. The bright shrine, the priest, the villagers, the lanterns. All of it faded like breath on a mirror. The present rushed back in. Aiko gasped and stumbled forward, catching herself on the edge of the small shrine's wooden frame. The broken courtyard, the cracked lanterns, the bowed main hall. They all returned with a harsh clarity. Her chest ached as if she had run for miles. The faint glow behind the mask flickered weakly. "Now you see," the kami murmured. "I was not great. I was small. I could not hold back every storm. I could not turn every sickness. I was only what I was." Aiko shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Only," she repeated. "You listened. You tried. You stayed even when they stopped coming. You kept watching even when no one left offerings. You carried their prayers even when they thought you failed." She pressed a hand over her heart. "That's not only anything." The air around the shrine warmed. "But the world forgot this place," the kami whispered. "They forgot me. Without their belief, I blurred. I lost my shape. My name slipped away. I remember their faces. But when I reach for myself, there is nothing to touch." Aiko let the pain in those words settle before she spoke.
"Then we'll start there," she said gently. "You showed me who you were to them. Now let me help you remember who you are to yourself." She wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve and took a steadying breath. "What did they call you?" she asked. "Even if it was just once. A nickname, a title, anything." Silence. Then, faintly, "Little guardian." The words stirred the dust in the air. Aiko's lips curved. "Little guardian," she repeated, letting the sound rest on her tongue. "That suits you." The mask's glow brightened just a fraction. "I'll call you that," Aiko said, "until you remember the rest." The forest seemed to breathe around them, the hush shifting from emptiness to something like anticipation. "Will you come back tomorrow?" the kami asked, voice small, almost shy. Aiko smiled. "I'll come back," she promised. "And the day after, and the day after that. Not as someone asking for blessings, just as someone who's listening." She rose slowly, legs stiff from kneeling. On impulse, she reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small cloth bundle she carried when traveling. A rice ball wrapped in a leaf. "It's not much," she said, slightly embarrassed, placing it carefully in front of the little shrine. "But it's for you." The glow behind the mask softened, like a lantern basking in warmth. "It has been a long time," the kami whispered, "since anyone brought me anything." Aiko bowed, hands pressed together. "I'll see you tomorrow, little guardian." As she turned to leave, the wind moved through the broken eaves with a sound almost like a sigh of relief. The forgotten shrine watched her go. For the first time in centuries, it did not feel quite so alone.
As Aiko stepped deeper into the silent shrine's abandoned courtyard, the evening air thickened with a strange, expectant stillness. The surrounding forest held its breath, and even the cicadas that had chirped endlessly moments before fell silent. Only the faint rustle of old banners, faded, torn, and ghost-like, shifted in the twilight breeze. The shrine's crimson torii gate stood ahead, ancient and worn, its once bright paint peeling into flakes that drifted like red dust. The wood creaked softly, as if exhaling a memory. Aiko hesitated beneath it, feeling a pressure settle gently on her shoulders, like the touch of unseen eyes. The keeper of offerings had not been seen here in years. The villagers had stopped visiting. And because humans no longer came, the kami had fallen silent. "Hello?" Aiko whispered, though her voice felt too loud. A whisper answered, not from a throat, not from any place she could see, but from the air itself. "Why have you come?" Aiko swallowed hard. "I came to listen." The wind stirred. The old bells hanging along the eaves trembled with the smallest chime. Just once, then stilled. The unseen voice pressed gently into her thoughts again. Few listen, fewer remember. Aiko stepped forward. The shrine grounds felt oddly warm, as if holding onto centuries of prayers buried in the wood. She approached the offering box. Empty, cracked, long forgotten. Dust coated its surface, save for a single clean spot, as if something had rested there recently. Or someone. Aiko knelt, bowing her head. "If you are still here, I want to understand." Silence followed. Long, deep silence. Then, a flicker of pale white light drifted behind the offertory. A shape hovered just out of sight, small, fox-like, yet translucent. Its tail swayed like mist. Each movement left a shimmer in the air, like the last spark of a candle flame. Aiko's breath caught. "You're the shrine's kami?" The fox spirit tilted its head, its empty eyes softening.
Once, a pause, now forgotten. The spirit dimmed, flickering as though a breeze passed through it. Aiko's heart clenched. I'm sorry." The fox's ears twitched. "Sorry does not restore offerings. Sorry does not rebuild the bridge between worlds." A low, sorrowful hum filled the air. "But you came." The spirit drifted closer, circling Aiko once in a slow, gentle orbit. The air grew warmer, almost kind. "You carry the forest's scent," it whispered. "You have spoken to other spirits." Aiko nodded. "I want to help you. Tell me what broke the silence." The fox paused, its tail sweeping through the air. Humans forgot. Images flowed into Aiko's mind. Children once laughing beneath the torii, families placing offerings, prayers whispered into the wind. Then, slowly, fewer people came. The shrine fell into disrepair. The fox kami's light dimmed. Loneliness settled like dust. "They didn't mean to abandon you," Aiko said softly. "They were afraid. They thought the shrine was cursed." The fox's form rippled. "Cursed?" A hint of amusement or bitterness echoed in its voice. I protected them for centuries. Storms bent around their homes. Illness passed over their children. I asked only for rice, water, and words of gratitude. Pain flickered through its form. Then they stopped coming. Aiko reached out gently. Let me help you be remembered. The fox kami drifted back, its glow strengthening. You would do this? Even when the humans fear me? Yes, Aiko said without hesitation. A spirit is only feared when it is unheard. The wind stirred again, swirling around Aiko in a soft spiral. The fox circled her once more, its voice quiet. If you wish to restore what was lost, there is something you must see. Aiko straightened. Show me.
The fox turned toward the back of the shrine, toward a small, rotting door half swallowed by vines and shadows. Beyond it, a deeper darkness pulsed. Aiko felt the air shift. Something waited there, something forgotten even by the kami. Walk with care, the fox murmured, for this is where my silence began. Aiko drew a steady breath and stepped forward. Aiko held her breath as she stepped deeper into the shrine's ancient corridors. The air was still, so still that even the faintest movement of her sleeve seemed loud. The silence here wasn't emptiness. It felt full, as though countless stories were lying just beyond hearing. Ahead of her, dim lanterns lined the corridor. They were old, so old that the wood around them was blackened by centuries of incense and prayer. Each held a faint, pale blue flame, burning without smoke or sound. Aiko approached the first lantern. The flame flickered, and a whisper brushed against her ear. It wasn't a word, more like a feeling, a memory brushing against her. She stepped back sharply. The keeper placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Do not fear. These lanterns hold what remains of the shrine's purpose. What purpose? Aiko asked. The keeper tilted their head. To remember. The next lantern flickered. This time the whisper was clearer. A child laughing. A prayer spoken with hope. The soft clapping of hands before a shrine. Aiko's eyes widened. Are these memories? Yes, the keeper said. Memories of the people who once came here. This shrine thrived on prayers. But when the village forgot it, these flames dimmed. Aiko swallowed. And the kami? The keeper glanced toward the dark corridor stretching ahead. The kami faded with the lanterns. A chill brushed across her spine. They continued forward, deeper into the shrine. The further they walked, the darker the lanterns became. The whispers faded to sorrowful sighs. Some flames glowed faintly. Others sputtered like dying breaths.
Aiko's chest tightened. How long has this shrine been forgotten? The keeper paused. 8 generations. 8 lifetimes of silence. 8 lifetimes of prayers never spoken. No wonder the air felt heavy. They reached the hall of whispering lanterns. Aiko gasped. Lanterns hung from the ceiling in spirals, hundreds of them, all pulsing with faint blue light. It looked like a night sky trapped indoors. But many lanterns were dark, their flames extinguished, their memories lost. The room felt like a graveyard of voices. The keeper spoke softly. This is where the kami once appeared to those who sought guidance. But with no prayers to sustain them, they became shadows. Aiko whispered, Is that why the shrine feels empty? No shrine is ever truly empty, the keeper said. It remembers every step, every offering, every tear. But without belief, they gestured to the extinguished lanterns. Even memories fade. Aiko stepped forward. The lanterns nearest her brightened, responding to her presence. She felt their whispers brush against her mind, gentle, trembling. Some were joyful, some were lonely, some were simply waiting. She touched one. A vision bloomed. A young girl with braided hair kneeling before the shrine, placing a rice cake before a small wooden idol. She smiled as she pressed her palms together in prayer. Please protect my mother. The memory faded. Aiko's breath caught. These memories, they're so small, but they're precious. That is why they endure, the keeper said. Grand offerings fade quickly, but small ones linger. Aiko walked through the hall, letting the lanterns whisper their fragments. A boy praying for courage, an old man giving thanks for a long life, a woman grieving and seeking comfort. Every lantern was a life, a moment, a story, and every extinguished flame was a story forgotten. Aiko's heart ached. Is the kami still here, somewhere?
Yes, the keeper said, but hidden. Their presence is now no larger than a breath. Can I? Aiko hesitated. Can I help? The keeper looked at her with a slow nod. Perhaps, but you must understand something first. They walked to the center of the hall, where one lantern, larger than the rest, hung alone. Its flame was nearly invisible, like the last ember of a dying fire. This was the lantern of the shrine's guardian kami, the keeper said. When the village stopped praying, this flame dimmed first. Aiko's voice softened. If this goes out, what happens? The keeper's silence was heavy. Aiko understood. The kami would vanish completely. No return, no memory, no trace. Aiko reached toward the fading flame. It flickered weakly. Her voice trembled. What do I do? The keeper whispered. Offer your memory, if you truly wish to help. Aiko blinked. My memory? But I don't have any connection to this shrine. I didn't even know it existed before today. Memory is not only the past, the keeper said. It is the promise of what you choose to carry forward. Aiko stared at the lantern. Promise. She closed her eyes. She thought of the forest, of the Kodama who watched with silent patience, of the lonely paths she had walked, of the nights she had felt something calling her, of the morning she found the forgotten steps leading here. She opened her eyes. I will remember, she whispered. I will keep this place alive in my heart, even if no one else knows it exists. The lantern brightened, slightly, faintly, but unmistakably. Aiko felt warmth wrap around her fingers, gentle as a thank you. The keeper watched silently. The shrine was waking, the memories were stirring, and somewhere deeper within the silence, Kami opened its eyes.
The guardian's enormous shadow descended into the ravine, swallowing what little light remained. Aiko stood motionless, her heart pounding but her stance steady. She did not step back. She did not flinch. The Kodama clustered tightly behind her, their trembling lights flickering like frightened fireflies. The guardian reached the ravine floor, its massive cedar limbs gripping the earth with a shudder. Its single glowing eye locked onto Aiko with an intensity that made the air heavy. The creature's presence was overwhelming. Ancient, wounded, powerful enough to crush the ravine with a single step. Still, Aiko lifted her chin. I'm not running, she whispered again. The guardian growled. A deep, resonant sound that vibrated the stones beneath her feet. But beneath its fury, Aiko sensed something else. Fear, confusion, pain. The heart pulsed behind her, glowing softly in the root cage as if silently urging her forward. Aiko raised a trembling hand, palm open. I know you're hurting. The guardian stiffened. I saw what happened, she continued. I saw the forest before the wound. I saw the grove burned. I saw the Kodama scream. I saw you break. The guardian let out a strangled cry, half roar, half groan, its cedar limbs curling inward as if trying to shield itself from memory. Aiko's eyes filled with tears. You've been carrying this pain for centuries, alone. The monster stilled completely. The Kodama behind Aiko dimmed, their lights soft and sorrowful. Aiko took one step forward. You protect the forest. But who protects you? The guardian recoiled in surprise, roots tightening around the ravine walls. You don't have to fear me, Aiko whispered. I came here because the heart called me, because the forest called me. I'm not here to take anything, only to listen. The guardian's eye flickered.
Then, it lowered its massive head until its enormous face hovered just a breath away from Aiko. Its eye, bright green and ancient as moss-covered mountains, stared directly into hers. Aiko's breath hitched. This was the moment, the forest's judgment, the trial of 100 eyes. Though there was only one eye before her, Aiko felt the presence of countless Kodama watching from the shadows above. Hundreds, thousands. Tiny silent witnesses to a moment that had not occurred in generations. The keeper's voice echoed faintly from above. Do not look away. Aiko didn't. She met the guardian's gaze and allowed it to search her. Not her thoughts, not her memories, but something deeper. Her intent, her heart, her fear, her sorrow, her resolve. The green eye brightened, blazing like a lantern. Aiko felt the sensation of roots spreading across her thoughts, searching gently, curiously, cautiously. The guardian pressed further, reaching into her grief, her loneliness, her longing to belong, and her quiet, unspoken hope. The Kodama, sensing the shift, slowly brightened. The guardian's eye dimmed slightly. Then, to Aiko's shock, it lowered its massive head even further, until its wooden brow nearly touched the earth at her feet. Aiko gasped. It was bowing. The forest trembled, not with anger, but with relief. A wave of warm energy rippled outward from the heart, and the Kodama's lights burst into bright, shimmering white. The trial was over. Aiko had passed. The guardian stepped back, its colossal frame shifting in a way that almost resembled respect. Its cedar limbs curled inward as if giving her space. The ravine seemed to inhale with renewed calm. Aiko turned back toward the heart. It pulsed with a gentle golden glow. What now? She whispered. The answer came not in words, but in feeling and invitation. The heart glowed brighter. The keeper's voice drifted down from above. It wants you to complete the healing.
Aiko approached the heart again. The root cage shifted subtly, widening just enough to let her place both hands fully upon it. Warmth flooded her arms, flowing into her chest. This time, instead of sorrow, she felt something different. Trust. The heart trusted her. Aiko closed her eyes and listened. She didn't know what she was listening for, only that the forest would guide her. The heart pulsed. Her breathing slowed. Aiko felt her heartbeat syncing with its rhythm. Slow, steady, deep. The Kodama floated in a circle, their lights swirling like drifting petals. Aiko whispered, "Show me what you need." Light surged. Her breath caught, and suddenly she was not standing in the ravine anymore. Aiko stood in a vast void made of roots and shimmering golden light. The heart appeared before her, not as an orb, but as a luminous figure woven from branches and memories. Its voice was not a voice at all, but a resonance that echoed through her core. The forest survives, but it is wounded. Aiko swallowed. I know. Balance must be restored. Aiko nodded. Tell me how. The heart extended a tendril of light and pressed it gently to her forehead. A vision unfurled. A hidden chamber deep beneath the oldest cedar. A shrine older than history. A pool of memory where the Kodama were first born. A broken seal. Cracked, dim, barely intact. Aiko gasped. That's what's been bleeding pain into the forest. Isn't it? Yes. Can it be repaired? The heart paused for a long moment. Only by one who has seen our sorrow and still chooses to stay. Aiko felt her body go still. Me? You? Her knees trembled. Why me? The heart's glow softened. Because you listen. Aiko pressed a hand over her heart. I'll do it, she whispered. She felt the heart smile, warm, grateful, ancient. Then you will need a guide. Aiko frowned. A guide. Roots shifted beneath her feet. A shadow stepped forward. A familiar one. The guardian.
But not the monstrous version she had seen. This was the guardian she had glimpsed in the past. Gentle, luminous. Its cedar body shaped by light instead of pain. Aiko felt tears fill her eyes. You! The guardian lowered its head to her. Aiko placed her hand against its wooden cheek. It leaned gently into her touch, the gesture so soft, so surprisingly tender that Aiko's chest ached. He will lead you, the heart said. To where? Aiko asked. The heart pulsed one last time, bright and resonant. To the place where the forest was born. Aiko opened her eyes, and she was back in the ravine. The heart glowed behind her. The guardian stood before her, and the keeper waited above. Aiko exhaled. I'm ready. The guardian lowered itself so she could climb onto its cedar back. Aiko grasped one of its thick branches, pulled herself up, and settled into the cradle of its wooden limbs. The Kodama gathered around her in a swirling ring of light. The keeper nodded slowly. It begins. The guardian roared, not in fear, not in anger, but in purpose. It rose. The ravine trembled. The forest above shook. And Aiko held on tightly as the guardian carried her toward the ancient heart of the forest of a million eyes, where fate waited in the dark. Aiko walked slowly back through the corridor of lanterns, each blue flame brightening as she passed. Not with the flicker of memory alone, but with recognition. They knew her now. They knew who stood within her. The keeper followed at a respectful distance, their wooden mask tilted downward in reverence as the lanterns whispered with new life. Aiko placed her hand on one lantern. The memory wasn't faint anymore. It wasn't a dying breath. It was a voice, clear, grateful, reverent.
Thank you, Kami-sama. Aiko smiled softly. I'm not a kami, she whispered. But another voice answered, not hers. Not yet. She inhaled sharply. The kami within her, gentle, quiet, rested like a warm ember behind her heartbeat. She didn't feel possessed. She didn't feel taken. She felt accompanied. You and I are one memory now, the kami murmured. Aiko touched her chest. It's warm. Your memory keeps me alive, and my memory will keep you guided. She swallowed the rising emotion. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. Story continues. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.